Hello, everyone, and welcome to the IAPS Showcase Preparation Guide. The Independent Assessment of Professional Skills, known as the IAPS, is the assessment for the candidates on the HSST program, excluding life sciences. This video will focus on the showcase element of the IAPS. You will learn how the showcase fits into the IAPS assessment. To do this, we will give you an overview of the IAPS and its purpose, as well as a guidance on how to construct a showcase and what its role is in the assessment. These are the standards of proficiency for higher specialist scientists held by the Academy of Healthcare Science. They are arranged across the same 5 domains as good scientific practice. This is important to note for the IAPS as it informs the structure of the showcase and the professional discussion as parts of the assessment. It is against these standards that over the period of your HSST, you have been planning and collecting experiences and activities and uploading the evidence of these in one file to record your development journey. You have been working to make sure that you are fulfilling the requirements of the standards and so evidence your ability that you can operate at the level of a higher specialist scientist. The purpose of the work-based assessment that you have been undergoing along your journey is to evidence how you mastered your knowledge, skills, and professional behaviors at higher specialist scientist level. The portfolio of evidence and reflections you collect in one file is what your workplace supervisors have based their progression decisions on in signing you off as meeting the standards. Once complete, this collection of evidence in one file is what you will be using to support the next step of the HSST, where you will convince an independent panel you have the ability at the level of higher specialist scientists. This is done at the IAPS. Over the course of your HSST, there has been a constant local assessment of your workplace development by your workplace supervisor. This leads to local sign-off against the standards. However, the higher specialist scientist standards of proficiency are national standards, and the IAPS, the Independent Assessment of Professional Skills, is a national independent check of your workplace learning by a panel of examiners at consultant or level 8 standard. The IAPS was developed to be consistent with the life scientists attaining FRC path. It is important to understand who the audience for your assessment is. Thinking about your audience will really help you in terms of your preparation for the assessment and for how you prepare your showcase. Anticipate they may have different perspectives on your work. The IAPS panel is your audience. The panel is made up of at least 2 members from your HSST specialty. However, a third panel member may be another healthcare professional in your specialty or a healthcare scientist from a cognate science. A good way of thinking about the panel in your assessment is that they are your future peers as consultant-level clinical scientists. They are looking for peer-to-peer conversations with you about the work you've done that convinces them that you can operate at that level. The purpose of the showcase you will develop for the IAPS is to present work for discussion and give you the opportunity to authenticate your role in that work and demonstrate it as your work and validate it at the correct standard through that discussion. The IAPS consists of 3 parts. Before the IAPS, candidates produce a showcase of evidence from their completed one-file portfolio. This is submitted prior to the IAPS, allowing review by the IAPS examiners. The IAPS itself has 2 elements. There is the professional discussion around a previously unseen specialist paper. This is followed by professional discussion around your development across the standards of proficiency for higher specialist scientists. The role of the showcase is to support the examiners in the second professional discussion by informing them of your best work in each domain of the standards. This is a brief run-through of how the IAPS assessment runs on the day. After the ID checks with the invigilator, the candidate will begin a 60-minute preparation period during which they will read a paper from their HSST specialty. This is followed by a 30-minute discussion around the paper. There will then be a 15-minute break. The professional discussion around the standards of proficiency follows the break. This discussion is 60 minutes in total. This discussion is semi-structured and is broken down into 5 10-minute discussions, one for each of the 5 domains within the higher specialist scientist standards of proficiency. The last 10 minutes is to allow areas to be revisited if needed. Each of the 5 domain discussions is initiated with a standard request from the examiners. With reference to the evidence you submitted, please tell us how this demonstrates your development to consultant clinical scientist level on the particular domain. We advise that you prepare a 2 or 3 minute reply to this initial question. The reply is your opportunity to very briefly summarize what is in your showcase and how it demonstrates that you can act at the right level and initiates follow-up questions from the panel. The next section is a walkthrough of the structure of the showcase. We will also go through the role of the showcase in the assessment itself and talk through a successful example of a showcase. A showcase can be compiled once one file has been completed to 100%. The module in which the showcase is constructed sits on one file. The showcase is structured around the 5 domains of GSP and is created using the existing evidence in your one-file portfolio that you have collected over the course of your HSST training. It is essentially your best evidence for each domain that demonstrates you can practice at a higher specialist scientist level. It is important to make things as easy as possible for the examiners to understand your work. To do this, it is important to provide a narrative to explain the evidence and what it means, and how it meets the standards of proficiency. The narrative should help the examiners engage with the evidence to be able to authenticate it and validate it in the assessment. This is an example of a showcase submission in one file from a successful candidate. The showcase sits within one file, and there is space to put a submission against each of the 5 GSP domains within that module. This is an example of a submission for Domain 1, Professional Practice. It consists of a short narrative in the evidence section and then a series of attached documents as evidence. The submission is titled, My Role in a Particular Piece of Work. The narrative should make it easy for the examiner to understand what you have done and how this meets the standard. Taking a closer look at this example narrative, it is 750 words long. There is no word limit. However, you must ensure you strike a balance between giving the examiner enough detail to understand what is going on, but not overloading them. In this example, there is a brief introduction paragraph which summarizes the project and the role of the candidate in the project. After this, there are a series of short paragraphs that detail aspects of the project. The paragraphs are structured in a sensible way, stating the candidate's role within the project and/or piece of work, then citing evidence next to those paragraphs to substantiate the statement. This helps the examiner know immediately what it is the candidate is trying to say and providing them with evidence that it's true. In later paragraphs, the candidate used the language of the standards of proficiency to make it easier for the examiners to link the candidate's work to the standards. Using similar terminology as in the Standards of Proficiency itself is a helpful tip whilst putting together your showcase. This slide shows you the evidence attached to the submission that substantiates the narrative. The narrative included a list of the evidence uploaded, which is numbered to help the examiners access the right documents to review. This helps to make it easier for the examiner to navigate through this large piece of work and review the evidence in line with the narrative. When uploading evidence, it is crucial to choose evidence that substantiates the statements in the narrative. The right evidence can also enrich the examiner's idea of what occurred and what the candidate's contribution was to those pieces of work. These are some examples of evidence uploaded in support of this showcase. They include a strategy document of team objectives outlining timetables and individual responsibilities, which highlights the candidate's position in the team delivering the project, and a scientific patient report with sensitive information redacted. Another example is a letter from a Royal College thanking this candidate for their contribution to the piece of work. These examples are existing, naturally occurring documents generated during the work which have been collected, prepared, and uploaded onto one file. They act as evidence for attainment of the standards. They are now repurposed in the showcase to substantiate the candidate's narrative. Knowledge of the principles of information governance, the standards of professional practice, and GDPR is essential to the candidate's professional practice. All trainees are expected to maintain their one-file portfolios in accordance with these principles and requirements, and make judgments about what information they need to redact, if necessary, with the support of their supervisor. Don't forget to check that there is any sensitive information that needs to be removed has been removed. Patient identifiable information present in the candidate's submission may result in an automatic fail. It is important to ensure when you are redacting information that the information has been fully removed from the submission. For example, be aware what information is retained when editing documents, even if you can't see it. Some guidance is available on the school website following the web address on the slide. So in summary, the role of your showcase is to present your best evidence and rationale to demonstrate you can cooperate as a consultant clinical scientist across the 5 domains. It provides the starting point for the professional discussion in each domain. The showcase is your work and will be specific to you. Consider examples of projects that you have been proud of working on and can talk passionately about. Consider the impact they have had on you, your patients, your department, and wider community to enable you to demonstrate your awareness. Make clear your contributions and remember your audience. Each domain submission has to inform a 10-minute discussion. The examiners don't have the time to go through your entire portfolio for each domain. Be selective and deliberate in your selection of evidence with a balance between quality and quantity. A demonstration on how to navigate one file in the production of your showcase is available in a separate video. Thank you for following this guide on how to prepare your showcase. If you have any questions regarding your one-file showcase, please contact us at nshcs.assessment@hee.nhs.uk.